What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and of course, we typically have a beer of the week. Welcome to a special Creators Corner episode, where on these episodes, we always talk about or talk to a creator, whether it's indie comic book creator or it's a big time creator of some sorts. This week, we have a special guest. Hojo is here to talk about his comic book, The Mythicals. We'll get to him in just a moment. As always, go ahead, Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform, any social media platform. If you feel inclined to support the show, patreon.com/Hops Geek News. This is the day that I arrive in Emerald City Comic Con. So if you want to follow along with us, I will be shooting a lot of stuff live. Catch me on Saturday as I get to chat with Studio Ghibli and see a lot of cool stuff from them. I always feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I'm illiterate as it is, right? I joined the military for a reason, I say. And yeah, my beer of the week is Mango Tango, a German style tart goza made mango, tangerine, and lime fruit. I was drinking this on another episode. I'm still drinking it now because I can't get too crazy. And it's 6%. It's a sour, delicious from Barbarian Brewing in Boise, Idaho. If you haven't been there, make sure you go there. Lauren, what you got?
I'm still on my same one too, my Icicle Brewing one, the Enchantments Hazy IPA, but I do have a somewhat supernatural-esque beer on deck for when we start talking about the Mythicals. But I am still nursing this one.
All right. Sweet. Well, we have
So I'll let you know when I open the next.
We have a comic book extraordinaire. We have a homebrewing champion. He's done it all. He's joining the show. Hojo, welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's pretty good, man. Thanks for having me. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, of course, of course. And now, what is it you're drinking? Because you are the esteemed homebrewing champion. Let us know. What's
It's second
about?
place. I got silver, but it's still a ribbon.
Oh,
Hey,
we'll get him
look.
off the show.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
Nobody wants to talk to number
If you
two.
ain't first, you're last.
I was going to say you're the first loser.
Yeah, that's right. I was the first one to lose. But no,
Ricky
it's
Bobby.
called Cyborg Brain Juice.
Ooh,
Ooh,
Like a little comic book theme.
that
Yeah,
does look
it's
very
it
comic
does.
booky.
Yeah.
from a place. It's called Devil's Backbone. It's pretty big over
Oh,
here.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
We've
I
had
know
them.
exactly where Devil's
You guys know
Backbone.
that? Yeah.
I've
Well,
been to the brewery. Yeah.
I live about 50 miles from there.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, probably less. I don't know. It's about
It's within
45 minutes.
driving distance,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's all that
yeah.
matters.
Yeah. I remember when that place was just like the size of like a gas station almost. And
Oh
just like they
yeah.
had that main little house and that was it.
Yeah, and now they have a brewery in the Washington Capitol Stadium, which is
Oh, I
crazy.
know. Yeah, yeah. We were
I
just there this summer, took the kids to a ball game.
Yeah, I went there when I was it was a couple of years ago. I was there for their grand opening, actually, funny
Oh,
enough,
nice.
when they opened that. And it's crazy to see a brewery at a stadium because you're still used to, you go to the ballpark, you get your big time beers, your
Right.
Buds, your cores, but to
Yeah.
see places like Devil's Backbone and these other craft breweries making their way into the scene, it's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
well, like
becoming more
heavy
commonplace.
yeah, heavy seas, they're in Baltimore, like, right
Yeah.
across the way. They're everywhere. I mean
Oh, they're at
everywhere.
Disney. Yeah, I've had
Yeah,
their beer
are
at Epcot.
they really?
But they're sometimes at the festivals. So
Hmm.
if you go to, I don't know how familiar you are with Disney, but like the Epcot festivals, they tend to try to bring in, like they got three Parish Brewing beers right now they have Ghost in the Machine, Hazy Bloom IPA, and a really good sour. But
Oh,
yeah, I've had Heavy Seas there a couple times. And they get like Playa Linda Brewing, they'll get Central 28, they get 81 Bay, Wicked Weed is
nice.
now there.
Yeah, yeah, Wicked Weed, that's pretty big over here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once they sold, I mean, they're everywhere now.
Yeah. I mean, Devil's Backbone, they had a pretty killer deal though. They did sell out to Anheuser-Busch,
Yeah,
but the
their beer's
deal
still
was
solid.
the deal was everything else. There's like basically you just give us your money to make better stuff and cooler stuff, but nothing changes. Like they can't come in and fire the brewer and like cut costs for they can't do any of that.
Which is a win-win because
Yeah.
if you
I was
keep
gonna
the
say I
beer
would take that deal.
quality, yeah, then people are still going to come back.
Because people in Hawaii are drinking it. Like I mean, people in
Yeah.
England, it's in England too. It's overseas. It's
Oh wow,
everywhere.
I didn't
It's just
realize it was
crazy
that
Wow,
for
I
far.
didn't
me.
know
That's
it was
Yeah,
that
crazy.
far of a reach.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I've seen like all these tagged photos from all over the world, and just be like, yeah. And we went to their I think like 8th anniversary, and they were giving away like crab cakes and it's nuts. They have a
That's
distillery
bougie.
there now, and they do festivals. You can camp there. It is insane.
Dang.
Like me and my wife, we got married across, like pretty much across the street from there, it's like a cidery or
Mhm.
Oh
something.
yeah. It is. It's
Uh,
wild. You see a lot of breweries getting to the distillery game now. I feel like because New
Rock Pit
Realm's
just
doing
started.
it,
Over here,
Rockbit, like
yeah,
it's kind of crazy. Which I think it's smart because the spirits industry is always going to be around, and
it's just more clientele, just more money to bring in.
honestly,
Diversify that
yeah,
portfolio.
Yeah,
why not? You're already making alcohol in some sort of fashion, so why not
yeah,
open
I
it
mean,
up?
you got to
You
get
know?
another license and whatnot for it, but yeah.
yeah. But that's yeah, it's no big thing. But it takes. I mean, you can't go right into making whiskey. You got to start off. Like
Oh
we had
yeah,
a distillery that start. They all got to start out with gin and vodka.
yeah.
You know,
Those
the
are
Mm.
those are
clears.
the first two. Yep.
Because you got to age whiskey.
Yeah, it takes
Ah, see, I know
Yeah,
years
nothing
to
about
age all of
liquor.
that
yeah,
stuff. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
The
Whereas
You
whiskey's the lager of the liquor industry.
pretty much, yeah,
basically, yeah. Whereas like vodka's like the IPA because it doesn't take
yeah,
much
yeah.
to
You,
make at all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty
Hmm.
much.
It's wild. So, you how long have you been brewing at home? What kind of got you into the beer scene?
Being poor in the military.
Yo, the military special where you would go and get like keystones, and I
Yeah,
can't tell
like
you how many times I've done exactly
Bud
that.
Ice, Ice
Oh God,
House,
I used to
Southpaw,
love Bud Ice.
we drank some
I
really
Little
was
awful stuff
Penguins,
in
the
the
Penguins.
dorms.
doobie
Yeah,
doobie doo.
yeah. It's and then I don't know. I think I had Sierra Nevada for the first time, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Ooh, what is this?" Because I didn't like
It
beer at
has
all, like
flavor.
at all. Like
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but like I was in high school, I didn't like beer. You know, like
Oh
if you
yeah.
partied in high school, I'm like, oh, I don't like beer. Like when I got in the military, it's like, well, you're gonna drink it because it's cheap, and you can't afford liquor. So I'm like, all right, I'll get into it. I'll just do it. And then I just had a Sierra Nevada. I was like, well, it's great. And then I had Fat Tire.
Oh
The
yeah.
Same,
classics. I
yeah.
guess this is like 2002, 2000, yeah, 2002, something like that. And man, it spiraled out of control a little bit. I started buying books, and uh, me and this guy were like, let's do it. So we got in trouble for brewing in the barracks. So
Mm.
we decided to do it like an offsite. This guy had off post housing.
That's
So
right.
we
Yeah.
went there and we were like we'd brew and then we would keep the stuff there in his little room and shit. It was I mean IPAs is all you can make because you just put it in a
Oh
I
yeah. It's
wish
simple.
have, have you heard of that thing from it's like Scandinavia, it's like Kveic yeast,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
get
Yep.
it super fast.
but you could ferment it at like 95, 100 degrees,
Hmm.
Yep.
but it only makes it better. It gives like the fruity part of the yeast and it just makes it way better. I wish we'd had
Hmm.
that back then. I'd have made some rockin' beer
Yeah.
because it's hot in Arizona, hot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So
We had to use swamp coolers.
and especially in the dorms is like so the one thing that people don't realize about the dorms and the barracks is I'm sure it's the same in the army as it is in the air force where you don't get to really control your temperature. It's
No,
they decide when the heat turns on,
yeah,
they
there's no
decide when the
thermostat.
air, yeah, they
Yeah,
decide when the air is coming on, and they decide the temperature. So it's not really conducive to things like home brewing because it could be February and hot outside, but to them it hasn't hit a certain temperature for exactly how many days. And so they're like, I'm not turning it on because we have to do it
right.
in base. And
Yeah,
it's fucking brutal. It
yeah.
sucks.
But now, like, I built my own fermentation chamber out of a mini fridge. I hollowed it out and took this wraparound cord, this plastic cord that you wrap around for reptiles
Oh
to
yeah,
warm
yeah.
like a
Okay.
piece of wood. And I took that and I did it this way, like a rib around the whole thing, and set it into a temperature controller. And so
Wow.
I could set it
Like
to a
MacGyvered
degree.
it.
Yeah, I could set it to a degree to where like I have a temperature controller on it right now, and it's at 48 degrees. Like it won't go above. It'll go to 49 and then click back on. The compressor will kick on and drop it down. And if it gets
Nice.
too low, it'll heat it back up.
Oh,
Because
Nice.
that's clever.
here in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I have to crank the temperature, walk it up to 68 degrees, and hold it for 3 days for a diacetyl rest
Mm-hmm.
to get all the funkiness out of it. Because right now, like a
Right.
lager, it almost smells like uh like poo. Like not like when you're fermenting IPA, it smells like fruitiness and grapefruit. This smells like straight doo doo.
I like how you said that too.
Poo. Like I didn't know. I
How
was
do
like,
I say
should I
this?
curse? Like
Oh,
like
you
I
can
was,
curse. You
I
can say
was just
shit.
I was just talking to my kids. It's like,
Straight smells like shit out here.
really, it smells like shit. Because my wife comes down, she's like, "What is that smell? Is that you?" I was like, "No, it's not me.
Like, you think I'm
My
smelling up
beer.
this whole house like
It's
that?
it's
Goodness.
basically just pure yeast. That's what it
Yeah,
is. Yeast has a
Hmm.
shitty smell.
it
Like if
does.
you drink a
Mm.
lot of yeast from the beer on home brews, I wouldn't want to sleep next to you. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. That's a really good
Oh,
point.
you're learning
So
more than you thought you would on this
yeah,
episode.
Sorry, folks.
The
you
more you
learn a
It's
know.
lot.
inside baseball.
You do. Look, brewing, it's not always beautiful. Everybody gets
It's a
to
lot
see
of
like
cleaning,
what's in the
washing.
glass. Like this is the finished product that people get to see, but the things that go behind
That looks
all of that,
juicy.
it's just like
Yeah, it does.
it's just a sour though. I mean, it's very tart, of course. Lauren saw me earlier when I took the first sip. I was like, "Whoo."
I wish you had been recording when you took that first sip because it
But
was
yeah,
amazing.
like everybody gets to see the finished product. They don't get to see the glamour, so to speak, that goes behind it. All the sediment that's
Lugging.
left in the fermenters and things like
Ugh.
that you got to clean out, and it looks like swamp ass when you're
Yeah,
cleaning it out, and it's
this green glop.
yeah, it's just this
I always think it
gross.
smells good though when it's actually like brewing or whatever they're doing. Cause like I've done many a yoga at different breweries and like in the morning there, you can smell the beer brewing and I
Yeah.
always think it smells so good.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
It does
place
not
right
smell
here,
like
they
ass.
this is a local brewery. They do yoga in the mornings and then do
nice.
brunch, which
Ooh,
kind of funny
Oh,
to me.
that's
It's like
perfect.
that's like these people do yoga and then go get like these gigantic sandwiches deep fried.
Gotta earn that shit, man.
Yeah.
there's a reason why they're able to do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to only
Yeah.
eat fries on the days I run. I
That's
just gotta
fair.
Yeah,
earn
it
it.
makes sense.
That's
Yeah.
fair. So
No, but the yoga classes are always usually a good deal. Just go off on a quick tangent, like 10-15 bucks, and you get a yoga class and a beer
more like
is
the
what it usually
Yeah.
run.
comes
Yeah,
with.
you do. Yeah. Yeah.
They
So,
do
I
like
mean,
brewery runs.
yeah.
Those are fun too, and then you get a free
Yeah.
beer at the end.
The brewery runs are usually you get $1 because I mean, and because I live in Central, all brewery runs in the outdoor yogas all year. Like there's no seasonal, and the
Mm.
brewery runs are like all of them are like $1 off your either your first beer or multiple beers. They all do it differently.
Oh, I have to mention that to some of my friends in the that
Yeah,
own breweries around here to do something like that.
get the brewery
Well,
run.
it's great because it gets non-beer drinkers in too.
It's
Yeah.
a great way to stay in shape.
Yeah.
It is. So how did you come upon comics? What was like your nerdy origin story? Were you always a fan of this world, or how did you get into the genre, so to speak?
I guess pretty much my earliest memory of any comic book is the Incredible Hulk, like
Oh
the old
yeah.
Spider-Man cartoons, like from the early '80s. Because like I'll be 42 this year, so
I'm sure
uh,
I'm not far behind you.
yeah. So like I'm an '80s kid. Like I remember the Lou Ferrigno, like the Bill Bixby series, and
Frigna.
oh my God, it's like what is all this? And then every kid knows Spider-Man. Like I feel like
Oh
every
yeah.
American child knows who Spider-Man is by the time they're five.
Yeah.
Mm.
Past the '60s. So. Like I knew who all those people were, but like I guess somebody gave me some comics and I must have got the bug somewhere. And I remember begging my mom for this issue in like the early '90s of like the green and gray Hulk fighting. It was like a Dale Keown cover. But then I started paying attention to the words and like what they were doing, the stories they were telling, and we just had had a friend that wasn't really into comics, but his brother was, his older brother. So like I kind of impressed him one time. I was like, yeah, that's the I think I was like, that's X Factor. He was like, how do you know that name? And so we started talking. Like, I mean, that was one of my favorite titles, that and Excalibur and stuff like that. And just I was 10 years old when Image happened,
Mm,
so it was just all there.
man,
But then I guess
images.
I
Oh,
faded in
image.
and out.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to always like keep up
Yeah,
consistently, right? Like sometimes we
I
get
got
really hot
event
on it.
fatigue, to be honest. Like the late,
Hmm.
I guess 2008, 2009, something like that. And I don't know, man. Just it's like as of right now, like there's some gems out there, but for the majority, a lot of the mainstream comics have the art and stories have suffered. You know, like a lot of it's like too wordy. Like
Mm,
it's not what they're saying, it's how they're saying it. Like you don't need it's not a movie. It's like some people are trying to write screenplays and you can tell you can do a double splash of them just standing there, and it's just a big conversation goes around both pages. I'm like, well, where's the action? What are they doing? Why are they saying these things? I can't hear them. I can read what they're saying, but I can't hear them. Like the
Right.
character development, it's lacking.
Right. And I feel like a lot of comics too, I feel we rely on these big events. Like something big always has to be happening.
And or a
And
reboot. It's gotta be fresh. It's like just give me a storyline that I can buy that's like 8 to 10 issues, and it's good and it makes sense all the way through. Like almost like a season of television.
right.
Get that out. Don't do 6 issues or 7 issues and kind of get going, and then like, oh, we're gonna do a number one, and we're changing the story. It's like you're writing a half of a story, and then you're just like balling it up and throwing it away. Like,
I just picked up there's a Superman that just came out, issue 1, and it's almost like another DC rebirth kind of, and I'm just like, wait, we're already rebooting again? We just went through rebirth. We went through the new 52. And so I definitely understand that because I'm like, is it worth reading the other ones? Is this how long is this one going to last? We're constantly calling to this rebirth. How many rebirths are we going to have?
you only get vested so many times before they're just like, all right, give me more money. We're gonna. Sorry that didn't work out. I'm like, it's like the Wolf of Wall Street. You're just taking my money.
No, it's right. It can be a little tedious, especially for new comic book readers, kind of to figure out where to jump in.
Yeah,
I get it.
Oh, and it's a little intimidating the first time you go into a comic shop. Like the first time I went into one, I knew what I wanted. I was starting, like I had only read comic books that were like my brother-in-law's or were from Barnes and Noble. And
right.
I literally went back and was like, I'm going to get the first 10 issues of X-Men or Avengers. And then I started reading Walking Dead, getting them at the library. And once I caught up and like I wanted to keep up because the show was catching up to the comic. And the first time I went into one, like thank God there was one guy that was so helpful. He's like, okay, well, this is because I didn't realize there was comic books and the trade backs and then
Yeah,
omnibuses and then,
yeah,
all these varying things. And it's like my recommendation to anybody who's new to it is go to a small comic book shop because they need you more.
yeah,
Yeah.
And so they're going to put in more effort to like I go now to pick up my books and there's comic books in there that they think that I would like and most of the time they're right and when they're not right I'm like, oh, just take this out and they're like, okay. So but it is very overwhelming, especially if you get into it later in life. But it's like when you go to a brewery, the person behind the bar wants to help you get the beer that you like.
yeah.
So ask questions, talk to them. Same thing at the comic book shop. Tell them, what you like, what shows you like, what movies you like, and they will
Right.
point you in the right
Yeah.
direction.
I mean, genre specificity
Yeah.
is the easiest
And they're
problem to
happy
solve.
to do it because I'm one
Yeah,
of those that's like, oh, I don't want to bother people.
yeah.
But
When did you start creating your own comic books then? What point were you like, I'm going to start doing this for myself?
Well, I came up with this idea like for the Mythicals, and I'd say probably around 2005. Like I was in the
Oh, wow.
military and I was overseas, and long story short, like I came up with this idea. I was like, it'd be cool to going out and patrol, like just us. It was like, what if it's like almost like wildcats, but like monsters and stuff, just going out there on these missions and kicking ass and stuff like that. And so I got to thinking about it, and then I had a nightmare like a couple weeks later, and it's like I woke up, I was like, I know what I need to do, and
Yeah.
every spare moment I had, like I quit reading the book I was reading, and I remember it was some weird ass murder mystery, but I never finished that book because I just kept writing on all this. And I talked to this guy. We were talking about it. I said something. He said, all right, Barry Allen. And I turned around and I was like, how do you know that name?
Why did you say that name?
say Martha.
I was like, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean? Like, because he said, hurry up, come on. And I was like, whatever. He just said something about Barry Allen. I was like, you read comics? He was like, yeah, man. Since I was like 5 years old. I was like, yeah, me too. And and he was like, yeah, I went to art school, but like he's like, I kept partying too much, and I just quit. And I was like, well, no big deal.
Here we
And
are.
he was like, well, check this out. We went to his his barracks room or whatever, or I mean his it's like a chew. They call him a central housing unit, like chew.
Yep.
And it was this badass picture of Wolverine, like up like this. I was like, man, dude, what is? I was like, that's you? He's like, yeah. I was like, do you want to? I said, I got an idea. And so we worked on it for about 3 or 4 months. And he said he knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy who might know a guy who worked at Cross Gen Comics, which is like this old independent label. Like Aaron Lopresti, I think, worked there actually. Pretty big people. And when we got back from deployment, they were out of business. They had gone belly up,
Oh no.
bankruptcy. So I'm like, oh well. That's like, I guess I can always submit it to Image and Marvel and DC, and then I just like, oh, okay, we're done here. So me and him, like basically looked at each other and was like, haven't. I mean, we didn't. That was it. And
Yeah.
so I was poking around, and I just started. I was on Twitter looking at my terrible sports news for my team, and lo and behold, I think it was something about comics, and then slowly I got fed these images, and I clicked on this one. It was like it's called Reaper Destroyer. It's by Joe Sontag. And I was like, man, dude, that looks like something from Image. I mean, like Sylvester level. And then the algorithm just pointed me into everything, and it just, as it tends to do, here I am. And I did some crowdfunding research, and I was thinking, I could probably make a go of this. I've never been published before. I've got a bunch of short stories. I always had like the George McFly syndrome, like not good with confrontation. It's like, what if they say I'm not too good? I don't know if I could handle that kind of rejection. But like, I'm married. I was in the military. Rejection comes with the territory. It's not a
You're
big deal.
married or Jackson.
It's not a big deal. Like being told no, that's not going to work, or this, yada yada yada. And
That's
then
the
I got an
truth.
editor. I streamlined the story a little bit, and I had already had it plotted out, this massive storyline. And I mean, I worked on it even probably for a good 7 months. Like, I mean, really hardcore every minute I had when I wasn't busy doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I just had to basically just give this a little facelift. And I plotted the rest of the thing out. I have 6 scripts written already. It's ready to roll. This is just the beginning. And I have other projects too. It's like now the floodgates are open now, and I had to put all that stuff away. But now it's like I need to have an outlet to create and do something. I'm always like beer stuff. I got like probably 60 something recipes that I've created on this
Oh wow.
little Beersmith app. It's Beersmith 3.0. I highly recommend it.
I'm
You
gonna have
gotta
to
pay
look into
for it,
that
but
because I'm always
it
like
is amazing.
looking at ways to write down my things that I want to write.
It is amazing. And my wife got me this letterbound journal that I haven't used yet to actually write the good ones in, because I've only made like probably 20, maybe 25 of them tops. But it's I just had to do something. Like I
Right.
play guitar and stuff too, and a little bit of drums, but can't play drums with a 2-year-old and a
Oh yeah.
5-year-old.
Not
I
at
mean,
that point.
the 5-year-old's got a little drum kit. It's cute, but I just can't really jam out much anymore.
Right.
So I have to do something. And my job at work, I do electronics and stuff like diagnostics. So sometimes I'm bored, and I'll get on Twitter, ba, 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 and work on my stories and stuff like that. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
See, that's what I need to be doing. I have so much free time at work that because man, it's weird how similar we are in the fact that like homebrewing, and then I'm also like, I'm at the stage you're at, a fear of that rejection almost, right? Because there's comic books that I want to write, there's things I want to do, and it's like, man,
Yeah,
I don't know. I just need to sit down and do it. And now that you have the floodgates are open, and your Indiegogo so far has raised, you set out to $2,500. You're at $3,600 right now, which is
I know
absolutely insane.
it's utterly insane.
Did you ever think, like, were you initially like, I don't know if we'll get to 2,500? Now it's just like, holy shit, we're
Well, I thought maybe 33,000 or maybe 3,500 within the first 30 days, that was what I was going to get.
and
No, no. I mean, a friend of mine, like he's into marketing. He raised a lot on his campaign, and he gave me a lot of good advice, and he helped me whip this campaign into shape. And he said, I'm gonna be honest with you, you even blew my projections out of the water. And he said, I didn't expect you to really do that. He said, you're really good at selling the product. He said your campaign is like the way it's tooled. It's almost like a template.
Well,
for somebody to create a campaign.
yeah, you have a lot of different. So you have so many different tiers. You've got your ultra mega super pack. You've got your digital, the booty juice edition, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, that's
And
his nickname, like in the community and all that stuff. They call him. I don't know what that's about. That's like his Twitter handle, Booty Juice. But this, and say that's what makes it. It's like the comedy sprinkled in through the entire campaign. Like the bookmark art wasn't even finished. He's Australian, so I put Men at Work, the album
Mm.
cover in place of the bookmark art, and used his
yeah,
Twitter avatar, and I still sold it.
it's
Nobody even the guy bought it hasn't even seen it yet.
it's wild because yeah, I mean, you have so many things. You sell like the concept art is on there, and you have original.
People
You
don't do that
offer
either. I
no.
figured, man, what the hell?
This has
Something
things that
different.
I don't see normal Kickstarters and Indiegogos do. You offer a ton, and you've sold out of the ones that are just like the higher ones. You've sold out, and it's crazy. And just looking at it, the artwork looks fantastic. And then again, it's a supernatural type story. So, what is the Mythicals? Explain to everybody kind of what is the storyline behind this.
Was a supernatural action mystery that centers around Level M, which is a top secret government organization that comprised of like creatures from myth and legend. So it's not just like one mythology. It's not just like Greek mythology. I have taken every world mythology, kind of cheated. I could pick from every one. It's almost like an episode of X Files or like
Oh yeah,
the Dresden Files, like those books, something like that. It's like the X Files. It's you can have a monster of the week.
Oh, like
So
supernatural.
yeah, 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 like Supernatural. Yeah, they did the same thing, didn't
Yeah, they had
they
Monster
did.
of
They
the
they?
did.
Week
Yes, they did
Yeah,
this
have like a
in the
monster of the
first
week.
season, yeah, and they still
yeah,
do that
yeah,
occasionally.
yeah. So stuff like that. It's just. I mean, it's a great sandbox to play with.
Hmm. Oh, there's so much origin and so much lore of all these
Oh, I
monsters
know.
and creatures. Yeah, and,
Like
and make it your own.
I minored in history in college, and like my mother got me into like one of my favorite movies as a kid was Clash of the Titans.
Oh
Ah.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
love that old stuff. Like
Mhm.
just I remember she got me like a mythology book, like when I first learned to read and stuff. I was like, oh, I was pouring
Oh
through
my
all that
God.
stuff. So
My daughter's in college and she's majoring in history and she fell in love with reading because of the Percy Jackson series.
yeah, yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, I watched the first. I didn't read the books, but
The books were
I think
good.
I saw the first two movies.
Yeah.
She's read like all of the Rick Riordan books.
He's like,
The
"Ugh."
the books are good. The movies, they have
I could
such
already
good.
tell if the movies weren't great when you just straight up said the books are good.
The movies were. They're redoing
Well,
the
they're
show
doing a
though. Disney
series
Plus,
though.
yeah. So
I know
they
everybody's excited about that. Kaylee's
everybody
excited
loves a
about it.
redemption arc.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
They do. They do.
Because my
And
son likes the Disney Hercules, loves it.
oh
Oh,
god,
it's
yeah.
great.
We listen to that
Zero to
soundtrack a
hero
lot.
in no time flat.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I did open my next beer. This is one from Stacy. It is Two Roads Brewing, a scary good pumpkin ale, Rosemary's Baby.
It
So I tried to
is.
find a little bit of supernaturally, although it does feel weird drinking a pumpkin beer in the first day of
You know what's
March.
funny is I actually have a pumpkin beer to send you from New Hampshire. I just forgot, but
Well,
what
at first I wasn't going to drink it because it's an ale brewed with pumpkin and spices aged in rum barrels with vanilla beans, but it's only 6.8%.
yeah, it's not.
So
It's a good. Is that your first one you've had?
no, she sent me,
Oh,
I think, a
she
few
sent
of
us a
them.
few of them.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I know I'm definitely saving one for Halloween, 100%. Because I mean, if it's aged, this should age just fine
It'll
till
be
Yeah.
October.
fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be
It'll
fine.
be
Yeah,
great.
the pumpkins
Uh,
get better the more they age, I feel
that's
like.
true.
I mean,
I agree.
that's what I won the medal on was an aged stout.
Oh,
Ooh,
nice.
no big
Yeah.
deal. No big deal. God, I love stouts.
Brush the dirt off your shoulder.
Yeah, yeah. You can. Hey, this is a place for you to brag. Yeah. What's
What before we go back into the comic book real quick, what
Yeah, sure.
specifically was the stout that you won?
It was a God, it was like a Russian Imperial stout, and I have
Mm.
a hack that I came out with. Like it's barrel aged, right? So I take well, I got my shelf right here. Take these
Oh
like
yeah,
Jack
yeah, yeah.
Daniel's
Jack
smoking
Daniels.
chips. It's just
Oh,
like ripped up.
okay.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
ripped up Jack Daniel's barrels, the
And
ones
you
that
just soak it in
that
the
mess
the
up.
thing.
I soak it in whiskey for about a month, and
Mm,
a lot of it evaporates, right? And so I'll
Hmm.
strain it off, and then when the beer is done fermenting and sets another week, I throw I'll put it in like a muslin bag or
Hmm.
whatever, something like it, and then just throw it in the fermenter with
nice.
some magnets. And I have like these real high powered circular magnets. That's how I do my dry hopping, so no oxygen gets in there at all. I don't have to introduce oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll put a magnet in there and a magnet on the outside of the carboy, and it'll just hang there in the middle of the carboy and just like
That's
circulate.
Right.
clever.
Put the chips in there, yeah. So it was like a hack, and it sat there for about a year in the
Oh,
bottle
wow.
before let me tell you, man, it was awesome.
I mean, it must have
Yeah.
been. Yeah, you won an
I mean,
award.
you won a
But the
medal. That's
thing
awesome.
is, the sad thing is the next year I was like, I'm gonna do this every year. It's gonna be like the Goose Island annual release of the
Like
barrel age,
Bourbon
whatever.
County.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. Well, I didn't do it this year, so I got obviously some stuff going on. I
Right.
didn't have time for that one. So
One day.
the
Next
next
year.
last year's version of it, and I still have one of the one from 2 years ago. I still have one. I'm gonna wait till it's 5 years old. And I'm gonna take a sip.
Hell
Mm.
yeah.
But the one last year was phenomenal. I mean, I know it's really pronounced phenomenal, but it was phenomenal.
I see what you did there. Gotcha.
It was over carbonated, and I missed the deadline for the entry for the
Oh
competition.
man.
Like I signed up, but I didn't actually pay, and like I waited 3 days, and like 2 days after that, it had already expired. He's like, "Well, it's already."
Yeesh.
I was like, "Come on, man, I was gonna win." But he's
I
like,
was
"Sorry."
gonna-
He just said, "But I just tried to get in there." I was like, I mean, I tried every excuse in the book and tried to church it up. I was like, "Come on, well, did you know?" And he was just like, "Just better luck next year and try to do it on time." I'm like,
Ouch. It's tough.
"Ah,
Oy.
It's
Ugh.
tough.
so
All
mad."
right. So back to the comic.
Yeah, no, I was gonna
Sure.
say the character. So what are your characters kind of inspired by? Is there anybody that you were kind of thinking of or put yourself into
Because you
behind it?
did mention in your trailer it's a 90s style action. So as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, he's got to have some good inspiration that led him here. I know we've talked about Marvel comics and what got you into it, but
Right.
when you say 90s style action, I'm thinking Ninja Turtles. I mean, what you
Yeah,
got?
like Ninja Turtles and I mean like they had a lot of action, but more like the image stuff
Mhm.
like with Young Blood and Wildcats especially that like and the Authority. I like the Authority.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I just like the team dynamic, and especially in the military. I mean, you work within teams, and you just
Mm,
and just no matter how serious the situation, sometimes there's always somebody makes a joke or some. It's just you have to keep it light. Like it's not always as serious you see it in the movies and like that. I'm like, yes, let's do that. No, I mean the it's like these people are real people. They're just
mhm.
fictional. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think
Like
it makes
like they
sense.
live within your head. Let me, especially if you write these people for this long or think about it. Like it always been in the back of my mind. Like I was like, I wonder. I'd be watching something. I'm like, I know what Lucas would say.
Yeah.
You know, but it evolved over time. But I mean, the '90s they would have like that, like Joe Mad and stuff. He brought kind of like that anime, that manga uh look in there and stuff like that, and you can tell with some of these action sequences that the artist he'll draw those like action lines and like drawing the eye to a certain location and stuff like they did back then.
Nice. That is, you hear a lot of people who don't really, everybody's inspirations are typically, yeah, I read Marvel, DC's, things like that, but Image is one of those comic book companies that I love a lot.
Yeah,
And they go under the radar so often. So it's really cool seeing somebody who's like, yeah, dude, I was into Image and this is my
Before
inspiration
Walking
behind it.
Dead.
Yeah. I mean, that and
yeah.
like Ice Cream Man and things like that today. So it's really cool to see that. Like, 'cause you don't hear a lot of Image love, or if you do, it's kind of under the radar.
I
Well,
think
see, here's
nowadays it's
the
more, I read more Image than I do Marvel.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you
yeah.
got
I can
Oblivion
believe that.
Song and
Well,
yeah,
they're
everything
definitely known
Robert
for like their
Kirkman.
horror aspects as well, which this fits perfectly into
Mm.
because it's that supernatural theme of
Was
things.
Invincible Image?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how
So
he
yeah,
got
I
the
read a lot
gig.
of Image.
Yes.
I just really like Robert Kirkman comics.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, I didn't even know Walking Dead was a comic book until like the show came out, and they
Oh
said
wow.
based on Image Comics. I was like, I
Wait a
know
minute.
Image, I know Image. I got on my
Yeah.
phone, and I was like, oh, I know Invincible. I knew Invincible and stuff like that, but I didn't know the way he pitched Walking Dead, like the story where he said it was about aliens and just bullshitted them.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story. But I
Well, I'm
mean,
still waiting for that Oblivion Song movie that he said's
That's true.
happening. First it was a show, then a
One day.
movie. That's a key. He said one day down the line, it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow.
I mean, I've been meaning to pick up like Gunslinger Spawn of
Mm,
I mean, I chat with Brett Booth on Twitter sometimes. He does some great work.
yeah.
We've been doing some cover art for Todd. It's just crazy because sometimes like the people I'll rub shoulders with or like Dale Keown follows me on Twitter, like Dale freaking Keown, and like sometimes he'll like some of my beer posts. And I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? But
Well, we're
like
best friends with Brian O'Halloran.
That's
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 true.
my claim
crazy.
to fame. Not
Yeah.
really, but
We do have like
we
some
got to interview him and he follows us. So anytime he likes
Really?
anything, I'm like, oh, my best friend Brian O'Halloran
he's
liked this.
watching.
Yeah.
Feel
Wow.
seen.
And he wasn't even supposed to be here
I
today.
know.
God.
Well, that like David Papose,
But
he's
it
done like
it is
Savage
a bit,
Avengers. He follows us, and I'm gonna see him this weekend. So it's like you said, it's just so
it's
surreal.
surreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Because you think like
These people you look up to.
and people you've known for years. And like the fact that you're even a blip on their radar
yeah, friggin'
is,
Sergeant Slaughter and Tony Todd follow me. How
Yes,
It's
yes, that's
insane.
so sick. It really is, and that's why I love the internet too.
Yeah.
It's such a
yeah.
wild place. It's just a wild place. But as we go ahead and we get ready to wrap up this episode of our Creators
Yeah,
Corner,
yeah, yeah.
how let people know like where can they find you? Where can they find the comic book? What are some things? How long do they have to back to get their hands on this issue?
We're in our first 30 days right now, and I've just been doing so many shows and on this circuit, and I can't tell you how many days ago Friday was, but take that and just take that many days and subtract it from 30, and I can actually extend it for another 30 after that and possibly go in demand. We'll see how far this thing goes. I mean, we're cooking right now. I mean,
Yeah,
we're blowing my expectations out of the water. And but you can find me on Twitter. I mean, it's HW Desper or just Hojo or the Mythicals. And actually, man, you can just go on Google and put in the Mythicals, and that's the number one Google search
it
for
does.
like
Oh,
Indiegogo.
wow.
It
And
does. It
that's
pops
like,
up.
you would think that would be, other mythical things would come up. So that's pretty cool.
I know.
And I know you're on YouTube now. We just started following on YouTube.
Oh, right on. That's just my trailers and stuff. I've been meaning to. My plan is to eventually do a time lapse brew day,
Oh,
and
nice.
then like have my friend edit it out and stuff like that, and maybe me go in and say a few things like this is this, and then just publish it on YouTube and just sit there for the live chat.
Yeah.
So
That's a really good idea.
yeah,
I'd love to watch that. Me personally,
yeah,
as beer nerds that we are, we'd love to catch
Hmm.
that.
yeah. Because a lot of the stuff like my equipment and stuff like my sparge equipment, like I made that. My wife got me
Yeah,
this awesome mash paddle that looks like a giant oar with these holes drilled into it, but it's metal,
that's
Ooh,
sick.
like
fancy.
an Asgardian war weapon.
That's
We
yeah,
have a brewery here called Dirty Ore, and it's
Uh,
so
that's
yeah.
good.
I have the shirt, and somebody's like, "I like your Dirty Ore shirt." I'm like, "What did you call
what
me?"
did you call me?
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on and swinging through. You're welcome back to anytime you have something you want to promote or just come hang out and talk about some comic books. By all
Or beer.
means, yeah, or
Yeah,
beer.
man, I would love to do that. Just I mean,
Come
I
chat.
love, I'm promoting my book and stuff. I like doing that, but I'm almost an introverted extrovert. I would much rather not talk about myself and just talk and talk about other things and not talk
Yeah,
about myself.
we'll have to get you on over at Hops News to talk straight beer at some
Yeah.
point. That's
Yes.
what we do over there as well as our other show. But thanks again for hanging out. I will make sure that the links are in the description of this. So everybody, if you want to go and support the comic book and what they're doing over there, by all means, check the description in the link for the episode. That's the easiest way to find it, and we'll be tweeting it out and everything as well. So Hojo, thanks for man. Everybody else, we will see you back. We have Supernatural Fridays coming up. We got a whole bunch of stuff. Stay tuned for all of the footage from Emerald City Comic Con that I'm going to have this
I
coming
can't wait to
weekend,
see that footage
and
Yeah,
we'll be
man.
living
because I
the
won't be
sale.
there,
That's right.
but I'll be
That's
at
right.
MegaCon the end of the month.
You will be. So hang out,
Not with press
subscribe to
passes,
us.
but
No,
I'll be there.
those don't get me started. Don't even get me started. We'll see you
I'm
guys
not bitter.
next time.
Yeah,
Cheers,
this time.
everybody.
Cheers.